It's different. I'll give you that. As a child, I used to have dreams, actually, of me being dressed in little girls' clothes. I was maybe 6, 7, I could have been younger. But I had vivid dreams of me being wearing little sundresses and all that, and it used to freak me out. I didn't know what that was all about. And then later, when I was an adolescent, I found myself going into we shared a bathroom with all 6 of us kids and my parents. I'd go into the laundry hamper, I'd find the girls' clothes. I started experimenting, trying them on. And I remember I might have been 11. I can't even. I could find out more accurately, I guess. But something as at an adolescent, I saw this story on the news about this woman, man slash woman called Christine Jorgensen, who was the first transsexual that I ever heard of in my life. It was a news story in the New York papers and then television. And when I saw this story, I felt an affinity with this being. I felt I am this. Now, there was never a conversation in my life about transgenderism, sexuality, gender identity. I had no idea. But when I saw this story, I had an affinity, like I did in the earlier segment I was talking about with that thing I was looking for and that thing that I had experienced. There was this recognition that occurred. And I, for years after that, looked for books or anywhere I could find any information about these feelings I had in myself that were very confusing for me. And I remember in libraries trying to go to the psychology session, seeing if there was something I could find out about what it was I was experiencing about dressing or wanting to dress, or, it was very confusing because I didn't know what it meant. So for over the next years, so let's say till recently, till I was about 61, I basically had bouts of cross-dressing. I would go buy clothes, I would wear clothes, I would throw them out, feeling guilty after a while. And I've read, when the web came around, I found out a lot more information about the things that I've been doing all my life. And that's one of the things people like me do. They buy clothes, they feel guilt about it, and they throw it out. A lot of cross-dressers are straight men. It has nothing to do with sexuality in terms of being gay or anything. It's just they're straight guys that are compelled to do this for whatever the reason. So 2 years ago, I had this girlfriend I was kind of seeing in Europe, and she recommended I share this about myself with some people I knew, so that I wasn't carrying. She says, "You're carrying way too much. It's like driving around with your parking brake on all the time." I wasn't really fully expressing myself. I was locked up. I was scared to death somebody would find out about this part of myself and that it would ruin me publicly. I may never be able to work. I mean, I'd be so embarrassed, which a lot of people feel that have this. So she suggests that. I sat with her for a bit, and I thought, well, I don't know. I said to her, I said, well, the problem I have with, she wanted to, sorry, a little backtracking here. She wanted to tell some of her friends and family about me, my friend in Europe. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, but some of the people in Europe know people I know in Los Angeles and so on. And this has been extremely private for me in my life, and I don't really feel like I'm ready for that, And so she said, well, you should tell somebody, a girlfriend or somebody, just to release this pressure. So I sat with it for a few hours, and then I decided to just go online. And on Facebook, I published, and it was July 18th, 2 years ago, that I published this thing saying, hey, in case you see, hi, this is very cathartic for me, and I hope it doesn't offend anybody, but if you see me again, I might look a little differently than you're used to, and this is the reason why. And the next day, I went out in public, dressed like I'd never, ever done before. And it was the most liberating thing I've done in my life. I felt this weight lifted off of me. Because for many years, this thing was kept in a really tiny little box in a tiny little area that was so secret. Only I knew where it was, right? And it distorted. It takes those, what were basically from a child's perspective, which I was, feeling these things, not being able to, nobody to talk to about it, scared to death of putting it in this dark place. And for years, it got distorted, I think, in that space, because it wasn't allowed to express itself, and it becomes fetishized and this and that, And the day I walked out in public, it just completely lifted all that. There was no charge on this expression anymore. It felt like the most natural thing for me, and I felt relieved. I also ran into two kids, teenagers that day, that were pointing at me and going, "Gay, gay, gay." And then I thought, typically, if that had ever happened to me, I would shrivel up, die, and never go out again. But instead, I turned to these guys and I looked at them and I smiled. And they smiled back at me, and the rest is history. I've had nobody give me shit, and I'm grateful for it, although I understand I could get it. And I know a lot of people, and I go out everywhere, and nobody has a problem with me that they have expressed. And I think a lot of that is because I don't have a problem with me. And I think because I carry that, I don't think anybody feels uncomfortable around me, even though it's different. I'll give you that. One of my dear girlfriends for many years, when she first saw me, she goes, "Oh my God, Johnny." She goes, "What do you want to be, a member of the NFL?" And I said, "The NFL, what's that?" She goes, "No friends left?" And I went, "Oh." I said, "No." And she goes, "Great, great. Johnny feels good. Johnny feels good about himself. He can go out and he feels good." She goes, "But what about everybody else? You're in their face." And I said, I'm very conscious of that, and I'm really trying not to be overt or over the top or in somebody's face. Or I said, but I'm really trying. I'm very aware of children. I don't want to freak anybody out, and I haven't. Nobody cares. I was the only one that had all this judgment and criticism about myself, and I carried it for so many years. And I'm the one that kept myself locked up. And if there's one thing I could share with anybody, is that if there's anything that affects you like that in your life, if it's on a creative level even, getting up and doing stand-up, go do an open mic, to paint a picture, to share your creativity or anything like that. And it could be on so many different levels. This was a personal gender question, I guess, for me. But to face it, that we're the ones holding ourselves back, nobody else. It's our perceived idea that everybody else is to react a certain way, but that's not true. And we're holding ourselves back and when you do finally let go or go do the thing, it's liberating. And then it's so freeing. And I'd like to recommend that to anybody. So there you go.